Well, I agree with you on that. History is always written by the winner, but the history books are very different than they were when I was young. I mean, like, I've got kids who've gone through the school system, or in the school system, I should say, so I understand what they're studying history and politics and ethics and religion. So I understand what they're doing, and I think from a point of view of religion being taught in schools, it being compulsory in high schools, and my own kids, what they've done with it is actually they know a lot more about other people's faiths than I did growing up. So in that sense, that's really encouraging, and we need to do more. The problem is we have such a lack of religious literacy throughout the whole of society that, you know, the question is it enough, you know? But we need to do more of it. And I just wonder if this experiment with kids doing more religion in school, will we see in 10, 15 years' time people who then go through the system and then end up having jobs where they are in power, as it were, will they think differently than the generation before them, the generation now, who have such a lack of religious literacy, and therefore that's where the conflict often comes in.
Education changes everything.
And with regards to history, you know, I'm a patron of something called the Curriculum for Cohesion, which is a group which is campaigning for better, more rounded knowledge of other people's stories in the world of history. There's an interesting thing here, which is going from a particular school that I had a conversation with my kids go, and they wanted to study, you know, I've talked to schools, a number of schools, and some of them want to teach things like the Middle East, etc., because you can do that now as part of you can choose the bits you want to choose in the GCSE. Okay. The problem is, if you've got all your textbooks and your teachers are trained in a certain particular subject, then it's a big step to not do that and to do something else, financially and staff ability. So there's all of that to factor in. It's not as black and white as someone said, I'm not, you know, I don't want to do this because it's not of interest. So without that knowledge, it's difficult to teach it. Is it important that we teach it? Of course it is. And I think that a couple of years ago, I made a series on the Ottoman Empire, and my belief is that to understand the world we live in today, the Middle East, to understand the dysfunctional relationship between Europe, not the West, but Europe and the and Turkey and the Middle East, etc. You have to understand the Ottoman Empire, its existence and its breakup. Now, if we should be teaching things like that in school. When I did the Ottoman Empire, it was about the Ottomans being the sixth man of Europe. Well, they were the sixth man of Europe in the last 100 years, but there was 400 or 500 years where they bossed Europe in one way or another. So they are European emperors. Now, we know nothing about them. We know nothing about when we talk about the Spanish Inquisition, we don't know about the Moors, we don't know about the Jewish people. When we talk about the Middle East today, we don't realise that the Jewish people who were living in Iraq and Yemen and Morocco and Syria and all those places, they were there because they were escaping Christian persecution and were welcomed into the Middle East by the Arabs. Yeah. So, we have a very short-term memory.
Short-term history.
Exactly. And the problem we have with that is that we need to learn more. Now, I think it's difficult because we have to pass exams.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So because we have to pass exams, it is difficult. But I think if we can learn more, if we put it into our teaching, a little bit more depth that isn't involved in the exam ticking thing, then I think it'll do a lot better.
Thank you for your